Today, Parsippany Spotlight is at Craftsman Farms on Route 10 in Parsippany. With me is Richard Rosenthal, who has been involved with Craftsman Farms since its very beginnings as a fight to preserve Craftsman Farms. Richard, welcome to Parsippany Spotlight.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Now, you have been involved since the very beginning when builders wanted to bulldoze this beautiful site, and you were one of the ones that were instrumental in influencing the township in saving Craftsman Farms.
Yes, I was part of, at that time, I was one of the heads of the Powder Mill High Country Civic Association, but I must say we did have obviously a lot of cooperation from the town. Where we're standing today, if the builder had his way, is literally we'd be standing in somebody's condominium. The road that you've shown coming up here and the road over here would have been a wall of condos. But it's the foresight, your foresight, because I remember you were one of the leaders in saving this property from being torn down, and that's what we needed. We needed civic involvement.
That's true. I was on the township government at that point in time, and we did have a strong desire to save Craftsman Farms for Parsippany.
Yeah, at that time, not many people realized the importance of who Gustav Stickley was and what his influence was as far as home or as far as furniture went. That's what Parsippany did. I think you should also mention, what I'd like to get across, what you also pioneered, was Parsippany was the first municipality in the state of New Jersey to adopt its own open space trust fund. I remember you were an active, well...
We pioneered that in Parsippany. We were the first municipality in the state of New Jersey to have an open space trust fund. We put a referendum for the voters. They supported that, and Craftsman Farms was our first open space.
What I really think was the great part, when people are always concerned about taxes, you actually got us to vote to pay additional taxes, another 2%, and the money sits separate and apart.
This is true.
This is the first piece of property purchased in the state of New Jersey under the Open Space Trust Fund, and then it's been adopted by other municipalities. It went on the ballot in Morris County, and we pay additional money for Morris County, but we were the first, and this is the first. And that's the greatest thing to say, save for its posterity.
This is true. They say that imitation is the highest form of flattery. Well, we were first, and we've been imitated many times in New Jersey, but we were first. You're right.
As a matter of fact, many times we'd have other municipal leaders come on tour here, and I'd refer them over to the City Hall. And one of them did it, because here we are. In any event, this property is now preserved. It's part of our Parsippany Park Department. We're here. 52 condo units are not. And it's a treasure, and I really wish more people would come out from Parsippany.
In fact, it's not just a Parsippany treasure, it's a national treasure.
That's the most important, that's also the important thing. We'd like to get more people in Parsippany to know about this. You know, we're a national landmark. It means that we are a site significant in the history. There's state register, there's national register, but on the top of the line is national landmark. And we were so designated by the United States Department of the Interior in a formal ceremony. In all of New Jersey, there are only 50 national landmarks for the Statue of Liberty, because I think they're in New Jersey's water, but that's a national landmark, and so are we. And that's what it is right here in Parsippany, and that's what we have saved.
Very good, Richard. Thank you. And now I see Rosemary and John.
Hi, Mike. Good to see you.
Rosemary, welcome. John,
good
welcome.
To see you, sir.
And John Louder, welcome.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
These are all people who volunteer their time, amongst many who volunteer their time at Craftsman Farms, aware of the precious jewel that we have here in our own town. John is a graduate of Parsippany Hills High School, one of our younger members in the association. And John, welcome. We're happy to see you. Rosemary and John, you've been involved for some time now.
Yes, I started about at the beginning in I almost said 1990, and it's just grown. I learn every day from it. I learn from the people who come from all over the world and visit the farms here, and it's really been a learning experience.
Now we're standing in what is land, which is 26 and a half, which is what's left of the entire Gustav Stickley farm, which was larger at one time.
650 acres.
650
acres at one time. The reason that Gustav Stickley decided to chose this spot was he looked quite a way, different places, and he chose this for the topography and for its closeness to New York City, where he had built and a restaurant. And this was to be a school for children originally, for boys to learn the trade. And although the school never got off the ground, many schools patterned on his ideas, and I think as a result of that we have Votech schools today. He was really the father of Votech schools.
In fact, the word craftsman that is used by Sears and Roebuck is actually borrowed from Craftsman Farms, I understand.
Well, we think so.
We think so.
We don't have anything written in stone.
Okay, very good. Now, Gustav Stickley, when he came here, he built these homes, and his style of architecture is very functional.
Well, I got to point out, Gustav Stickley had a magazine called The Craftsman, published from 1901 to 1916, and he would have what they call the Home of the Month. It was a home designed for the common man. And it's very important, being a white elephant. We're saving a home that was designed for us. Like my grandparents came through Ellis Island. This would have been a home for us, not the Vanderbilts. And that's what Parsippany people are. We're working people. In any school, the faculty of School of Architecture, Gustav Stickley, between the Victorian era and until they started putting up the standard bi-level split and colonial, influenced more home architecture. I'll have people say, well, what about Frank Lloyd Wright? And I'll say, well, what about the Fallingwater housing development? You know, obviously there wasn't any, but that's what Gustav Stickley did. He was to design many of the homes you see around the United States. He's the man who opened up the living room and dining room to the family. He's the man who popularized, ready for this one, walk-in closets. And that's what you didn't have. So this is a home that's really the cottage that you see around the lake communities, and then the very upscale homes that you see in Mountain Lakes of the Arts and Crafts home. But there are so many homes in Parsippany that you just go street after street. Especially those are an influence of the Craftsman style home. And I'm sure if you get the people from Lake Hiawatha who look at our catalogs, they'll be able to identify their home and the influence of the of Stickley
Farms. What got you excited about this?
Well, I've been a lifelong resident here in Parsippany, and I've always been very interested in historical assets here throughout the state of New Jersey, specifically Morris County and definitely Parsippany, and the town change. And I became very interested in the way everybody here has been working together to try and preserve an asset that we do have here in Parsippany. And like I said, I enjoyed living here all my life, and these years too.
So we have actually a spectrum of ages. Craftsman Farms isn't any particular age. It has an interest to all of us, and we're very happy that that we have all of them inside. And talk a little bit about Gustav Stickley and the architecture itself.
Fine, glad.
And now we are inside one of the Stickley homes. There are so many beautiful pieces of furniture here of historical significance. Rich, why don't you...
And the piece directly to your left, that's a sideboard. What really put us on the map a number of years ago is in 1989, Barbara Streisand purchased a sideboard made by Gustav Stickley, made in the 20th century. Now that sideboard came from his home in Syracuse, but this is the sideboard that came from this home, and as a matter of fact, this one has a plate in this room, and unfortunately we can only show you the pictures. There are two corner cabinets. When Barbara Streisand purchased a portion of the contents of this home, that she paid table. The original of that table was donated by the Farney family who lived here after Stickley left to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And unfortunately, that's the only pieces are owned by very famous people, including Steven Spielberg, Richard Gere, and I just learned Brad Pitt is another collector of this furniture. So the furniture itself is a house. I think John could tell you about some of the other pieces that we have here and what and why they're so important in American history.
People would gather around at the fireplace, and it was essentially the nucleus of the household. One of the features of this house here, it has 5 fireplaces, which in turn were to, at the end of a long day here, unwind and just unfold on the events that occurred. As I mentioned, there are 5 fireplaces here, and the fireplaces were essentially the source of heat here in the house.
Copper conduits that direct the smoke and the heat to the chimney.
Right.
Now the copper radiates the heat and absorbs some of that heat.
Ventilator. And if you look at the fireplaces, there's 2 copper vents up in the upper left and upper right corners. And essentially what the system would do is it would pass air from the outside through the fire.
Know how inefficient they are, but he was ahead of his time by getting this heatilator. So actually, if you have your fireplace and you don't have a heatilator, you really should open up another window. Now, because it's a museum, these unfortunately they have to be sealed and they can no longer be used. Another feature we also see on here is they all have these great hammer in hand, all things stand. Means the blacksmith makes the tools for the craftsman. And also, it's interesting then in this house.
Okay, well there are other activities that go on here at Craftsman Farms too, aren't there, John?
Yes, we have a market. This is a market that we have every Saturday, bringing fresh homegrown farm produce to them. We're going to close in about 2 weeks, and probably in the spring we will open up again. And also we have had some interest in people becoming volunteers for us. I'm a volunteer and I enjoy doing it. I can do almost anything they want me to.
Sedgefield. And John is also a retired lieutenant colonel in the Marines. So I always say if you need something done, you ask a Marine.
Yeah.
No, I have to plug my husband too. Because he not only does the farmer's market, he fixes things, he opens doors and does all kinds of little things around here. But we also sponsor a series of what we call chats in the garden during the season that we have. And these are people that come framing, which this house is, of course, a log house. And it's a little bit different than most of the log houses you see. And gave a talk in the garden on blacksmith and on the wallpaper that was popular during the arts and crafts movement. We had women during the arts and crafts movement. They did a lot of things at home. We have at present a exhibition still, and there's a lot of other exhibits that we have off and on during the year. We have had a chat in the garden on the garden, which was
of the Parsippany Garden Club, who is taking care of the outside. So we're getting more civic involvement outside from other groups who are being associated.
In the summer, and an arts and crafts camp, and in this they made something different with their hands.
So we're turning this back into a craftsman training farm again.
And that is our tea and tour. And as it implies, is you come up the tables and we serve tea and I would say crumpets, but we really don't have crumpets. It's usually cookies. People that visit us tell us about. They love to come here and strangers, and we get people from on his shop mark, which is the Joiner's Compass, but it also inside.
You know, up here in Mount Tabor. Yeah. So she was going to be a volunteer here.
Now, the register,
because of the very strong influence of the Craftsman home. A matter of fact, Ontario from Kitchener, I said, yes, we had somebody from Kitchener, Ontario yesterday. We had a 10-page color spread in Architectural Digest. We made Old House German National Trust, the only place in the state of New Jersey, one of 7 in the middle of this month.
very interesting.
Yeah. And we had, and we instead of being a home for a condo.
They have the Holly Walk, which is mostly in Morristown, which I think it's $10, was last year. And that gives you, it starts in the early part of December.
We'll have a bell choir here, home, and you feel the warmth, and you feel the, and we're going to have cider. Weeks ago, we had over 1,000 people that came through.
Today on Parsippany Spotlight, one thing we might want to head over.
Well, okay, we are open Saturdays and I'm the head of the docent coordinator, meaning this place will only grow from strength to strength, and that's what we have to thank you about.
Parsippany Public. So if anyone wants to visit, believe Gustav Stickley would be very pleased to know that his dream, 17 on Sunday the 8th, the bell choir